So we'll move on to the second question now, and Leslie Steen will start with the opening statement, and I'll put the question to the candidates.
In the fisheries section of the white paper, it describes how Teton County, Wyoming hosts some of the finest native, naturally reproducing fish populations in the United States. We have our own multi-generation Jackson local fish here, the Snake River, fine spotted cutthroat trout. And the white paper outlines current and future threats to this fishery, including migration barriers, habitat degradation, non-native species, water quality impairments, and warming stream temperatures.
Thanks, Leslie. So this question is directed towards County Commissioner candidate Greg Epstein, Councilman Jim Stafford, and Vice Mayor Levinson. And the question is, what role do you believe the town or the county can play in protecting these outstanding fishery resources in the face of these threats? And how would you personally seek to empower this role as an elected official?
Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes for a second. Okay, so when it comes to the fisheries in Teton County and again in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, but specifically on the Snake River, I would definitely look towards some of the experts in this room and try to get some recommendations on how we can best work with the fish population. But ultimately, I think we would have to look towards Wyoming Game and Fish and get recommendations from them on what sort of practical recommendations they would potentially use towards our land development regulations within the county.
Great, thank you very much. Councilman Jim Stafford.
Well, I think first off, these are complex problems, and when you talk about rising water temperatures on the Snake and rising temperatures in our ecosystem, I mean, we're being faced with an overwhelming problem. We have limited means to address it. We try to reduce energy consumption. We make many educational initiatives trying to educate visitors as well as residents about these problems and how we all in our daily lives can have a small effect. When you think about preserving the quality of streams, your choice of soap, your choice of detergent, if you're going to put a nasty drain cleaning product down your drain, you have to understand that we have personal choices that we can make, and thinking about the health of the Snake River, ultimately, we can hopefully make better choices. When you talk about big picture fisheries issues in Jackson, it starts with management of Jackson Lake Dam. I attend the Bureau of Reclamation water meeting every year and try to understand how those decisions are being made. Continued working with our federal partners at the Forest Service and Park Service is key because so much of our headwaters is contained within, and fortunately contained within wild areas and within the wild and scenic drainage, Snake River headwaters. Here in town, Flat Creek, we have an opportunity to improve the quality of the habitat. On the refuge, it's some of the best trout spawning habitat and trout habitat, period. And then down in the South Park area, there's some great trout habitat. In town, Flat Creek is impaired. We have an opportunity to work on restoration while hopefully improving public access. We also can work on better stormwater regulations and help landowners make those choices that I talked about earlier so that fertilizers and herbicides aren't washing off lawns into our streams. And also, as we develop our town, we can make better investments in infrastructure that developers and the government can both do to keep water from running directly into Flat Creek.
Thank you. And Vice Mayor Levinson.
Thank you. I hope what you'll hear here tonight is a lot about collaboration. In the white paper that we read and that hopefully you guys had a chance to look at as well, I counted 8 or 9 federal and state agencies. And then you add 6 at least groups in the area, the town and the county. So you can see that there's a lot of different players and a lot of different people working on these issues. So something that I've always, it's very important to me and to the town council is to collaborate with our partners, both in the county, the state, and federally, as much as we can. I also think that education is a really big piece of this, where we can educate our community, even though we're a highly educated place, we can still do better in what sort of practices we use, kind of what Jim was mentioning. And then I want to bring it down to the council level. I was able to chat with Larry Pardee, our Public Works Director here today, about what we do just on a public works standpoint. We have about 70 miles of road lanes that town maintains. And if you think about that, every winter we put gravel down. And where does all that gravel go when the snow starts to melt? It's eventually going to go into the river. But we street sweep. It seems like a simple thing, but that collects 1,000 tons of debris each year from going into the river, which is pretty amazing that that's what our town council has charged our public works to do. Further, with the Carnes Meadow restoration project and stormwater drainage, you'll see those wetland or pond areas where we collect more debris before it gets into the river.
Wonderful. Good job. Okay, and then I have time for potential follow-up for Jessica Chambers and Trey Davis. Trey, would you like to start?
To the point that Jim Stanford made, I live off of the creek down south of town in Rafter J, and I fish it when it's available. When I say when it's available, I will not fish it during the heat of the summer, during the heat of the day. It gets shallow at a lot of points down in Rafter J and funnels into big troughs, and you will actually see 10 to 15 trout stacked up in those troughs. And to fish it, I think, would almost kill the fish, trying to fight them, to the bank. So it can use some work in all areas, and I think the biggest thing is education for not only people who live here, but people who come and enjoy our streams, because fishing it in the heat of the day when it's 90 degrees is not a smart thing. I refuse to do it at that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica, anything?
Thank you. Sure, I have things to add. These are incredibly difficult questions, highly complex. What I would say, though, is that the cutthroat trout that we have here, and they are our miner's canary. They are an indication of where things are going wrong, and like Councilman Stanford said, we are somewhat limited as to what we can do, because a lot of this has to do with climate change and warming temperatures of the waters. However, that being said, as a town, as a county, we can take progressive measures to, rather than just encourage and educate, require or regulate the use of certain chemicals or implement processes within our town government to use, and I don't know much about what we use for cleaning products in our buildings and whatnot, but I think there are certain measures that we can take with regard to that and actually put our money where our mouths are. We are surpassing levels we cannot return with our carbon, our carbon impact on the planet. So this is not a time to just say we need to encourage people to do the right thing. We need to start requiring people to do the right thing, because if encouragement was enough, we would already be doing it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So Len is representing Judd Grossman, and Judd has a response for question number 2. So for your sake, I'm just quickly going to repeat question 2, which was, what role do you believe the town or the county can play in protecting these outstanding fishery resources in the face of these threats, and how would you personally seek to empower this role as an elected official?
Tom says I have to stand over here so as not to confuse you between the Snake River Fund and Judd Grossman. I am now Judd Grossman. So Judd says, I will support the persistence and proliferation of cutthroat trout in Teton County by working to reduce development and population pressures on their habitat and by advocating for conservation in discussions with federal land managers as a local government stakeholder.
All right, thank you very much, Doug Grossman.